Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 2 of Tour of the Basque Country 2025. Today's race at 186 kilometers long, call it 110 miles in length, looks like it should be one for the sprinters. Now, if you've been following the Butterfly Effect for any length of time, by now you know I'm not a recap channel, and I don't like being called the recap channel. I find nuggets within the story to highlight and analyze the bike racing, but to bring stories to you guys that can make your understanding of bike racing better. Today has a marvelous little nugget, and it's called Caleb Ewan. When we start looking at today's stage profiles, I already told you it's a sprint stage. Caleb Ewan is outright the favorite for Team Ineos. But he's got a story. He's got a fabulous story that started winning Tour de France stages and dominating at Giro and winning stages of the Vuelta a España. And in 2019, when I was covering it for NBC with Peacock, it was fabulous watching Caleb Ewan win Tour de France stages. Then we start fast forwarding up to 2021, where he was remarkable and on fantastic form, starting the first monument of the 21 season at Milan-San Remo. And you know when he's climbing with the best in the world, going up the Cipressa and the Poggio, and then it's Stuyvens that slips away, wins Milan-San Remo, but Caleb Ewan wins the sprint to get second. Now we fast forward that a little bit further in the 21 season, and he wins 2 stages of the Giro d'Italia. Then we fast forward going into the Tour de France after he dropped out of the Giro, and we go into that stage 3 of the 21 Tour de France. Do you remember the story? Let me back it up just a little bit before the finish as they're coming through the narrow roads. And it was Primoz Roglic that crashes out on the left side when he gets bumped by Sonny Colbrelli. Sonny Colbrelli denies all that, but I got my own opinion. It looked like a pretty hard bump, and Primoz Roglic went off the road, so his chances of winning the 21 Tour de France ended on that stage 3. We fast forward a little bit more after that, and there was a crash coming down the descent into the left turn where it almost took out Tadej Pogačar, but his mad skills of the second Slovenian made it through that. And then we come into the finish, near the finish before 1K to go, when it was Mathieu van der Poel on the front drilling it for Alpecin de Koenig because they had Jasper Philipsen and Tim Miller back there. This was when Mathieu van der Poel started developing his lead-out skills for Alpecin de Koenig. Before that, he didn't know how to do it. Now he's starting to sharpening the skills. He takes that Peloton of Stage 3 Tour de France all the way into 1K to go, and then he pulls off, and there's 3 Alpecin de Koenig riders on the front. As they're drilling it on the front, Jasper Philipsen sitting second, and third's Tim Miller. Then we look a little further back once we start getting under 400 and closer to 300 meters to go and real close to the finish, and we see it's Peter Sagan back there and Caleb Ewan. Keep in mind Caleb Ewan. Caleb Ewan panics because he knows he's a little bit too far back. He starts passing Peter Sagan, but they're coming up to a right bend to the finish of the stage. Caleb Ewan bumps with Peter Sagan. Peter Sagan crashes. Caleb Ewan crashes. Caleb Ewan ends up finishing his Tour de France run there at 2021 Stage 3 Tour de France. But the repercussions of this Stage 3 crash is massive, that the mistake made by Caleb Ewan trying to be too aggressive and crashing changed everything. So what else did it change? Peter Sagan didn't win an 8th green jersey. He took out Peter Sagan, right? If we go back to earlier years, Peter Sagan missed winning the 8th green jersey when he got relegated on stages when he was battling with Wout van Aert. We go back to other times with Peter Sagan and he didn't win the green jersey when he got thrown out when he bumped shoulders with Mark Cavendish. Now we go fast forward again after this Stage 3 crash, once it all finished, where we see Jasper Philipsen doing the lead out for Tim Miller, who wins that stage. Well, after that, who ends up taking the green jersey? Mark Cavendish comes back out of the blue at the 21 Tour de France and wins 4 stages. Do you think Mark Cavendish would have still won 4 stages if Peter Sagan was on his best form and wasn't crashed that day? Do you think Peter Sagan could have won the green jersey at that 21 Tour de France if he wasn't crashed that day and taken a record 8th green jersey? Or Caleb Ewan wasn't in the race anymore, so Cavendish continues to keep winning all the way into the Shams, where then later we see Wout van Aert win into the Shams, so Cavendish ends up tying with Eddie Merckx, but can't break Eddie Merckx's record. So when you look at Caleb Ewan on the Stage 2, don't just look at it as like, oh, this is the Basque Country Stage 2. Because after that Stage 3 of the 21 Tour de France, Caleb Ewan's career started to decline big time. I think that Stage 3 was something magical because a lot had changed at that moment with that one mistake made from Caleb Ewan. Well, fast forward after the 21 Tour de France, and we know that Caleb Ewan didn't win another Tour de France. We know that Lotto Destiny got upset with Stefan Lowe and their director, Sportif, did, and fought, of course, with Caleb Ewan. He left the team, went over to Jayco, and then, of course, at Jayco, Caleb Ewan didn't make the Tour de France because they had Dylan Groenewegen taking the Tour de France spot. So he jumps off of Jayco, he jumps onto Ineos real late in the season last year, and now he starts the 25 season a little bit late, but he starts it hot. Guys, at Coppi Bartoli, he ends up winning stage 1 there, and then this is his second race here, second stage race that he's starting in the 25 season. So this is a crucial moment right here on stage 2. Don't just look at it as like, this is a boring stage. There's nothing on the line. There's history-making stuff here, and maybe the progression of a rider who's dropped his form all the way from stage 3 of the 21 Tour de France and is starting to pick it back up now that he's over there with the British team, Ineos, trying to get back to the Tour de France to get back to his winning ways. This guy's been a professional for over 10 seasons, and he's won some remarkable stuff, and he has a number of wins on his resume, but they've all started to decline. Now he's trying to pick it back up. So when the cameras come on proper and we see 5 riders up the road, we see that Tobias Bayer is up there from Alpecin de Koenig, Fernandez from Burgos, and when we look at Xavier Izaza from Escatel Escudi, he's represented. Diego Urate is up there from Kern Pharma, he's in the breaks all the time. And then Caja Real have Julian Ariola, and they have about a 1 minute 40-second gap. And when we go back and look at the Peloton, who's on the front? Ineos is on the front. That's why I told you the whole story. Caleb Ewan is the favorite to win today's race. But he's got a couple other sprinters that are still very good quality because, of course, we got Visma Lease bike and we got Zingle in there, Axel Zingle, that wants to win today's stage for them. And then we start looking at Soudal Quickstep. Ethan Hayter's here, right? Ethan Hayter's wants some good stuff too. So there's still some good quality sprinters that Caleb Ewan's got to battle against if he wants to start his career going upwards. And of course, if he wants to make the selection for the Tour de France, which we know over at Team Ineos, as Caleb Ewan's career has dived, so has Team Ineos has dived from when it comes from being Grand Tour winners throughout the European peloton. Because Egan Bernal was the last one at the Giro d'Italia to start winning Grand Tours, and then it started to drop after his Giro d'Italia. So that wasn't much after that 21 season of the Tour de France with Caleb Ewan. So we got Ineos on the front. They're trying to get things all organized as they've brought in a new sprinter on their team here at stage 2 of the Tour of the Basque Country. We start looking at Ineos riding the front. We go into about 75 kilometers to go, and this is where Ethan Hayter, as the road gets really twisty and technical coming through the town, Ethan Hayter is going to crash the Soudal Quickstep rider as they come through the right turn. The cameras find him. He's kind of ripped up and stuff, but he's back at the team car with one teammate. As his teammate leaves him, Vervaeke goes back up to the peloton. Ethan Hayter's going to spend a little bit of time, I can only assume, with the medical car. That's why he's hanging out behind the bumper there of the white car. Well, he'll find his way to the back of the peloton too. Now I'm going to fast forward you into a couple of the sprint markers here with just about 61 kilometers to go as Tobias Bayer wins the first one. Then we go into about 40 kilometers to go and Tobias Bayer is going to win the second one. Now the peloton starts getting some help back there for Ineos as we see Soudal Quickstep get on the front about that same time. After they get on the front, we go into 30 kilometers to go, and now it's time for Visma Lease bike to get on the front. With 25 kilometers to go, things are getting nervous because we're coming up to the last real obstacle for the sprinters to make it over with 20K to go when the climb starts, so that's why the peloton start going full gas. They're curb to curb. It's getting a little bit nervous. The gap as we start to climb with about 20 kilometers to go up to the 5 breakaway, is down to just under a minute. As we see that, we see Caleb Ewan. He's sitting in about 70th positions, but he's got a good draft. It's not the perfect position. I'd like to see him a little bit higher, but it's good enough. He's not in the second half of the peloton right now, and he's getting a fabulous draft as this soft climb of just over 4% starts. Once the climb starts proper, we see Visma Lease bikes on the front, and then we see a big effort being made by Jaco Alula on the front, and that's Mario Schmidt. I don't know exactly what they're doing here because they don't have a pure sprinter. Eddie Dunbar's their GC guy, but maybe they're trying to bring back the break right now so they can try for some tactics and some attacks on the run into the finish of today's stage. But Mario Schmidt's doing damage on the front. It's got the peloton all strung out, but Caleb Ewan's still in this group. As we see they come up to the summit, we'll see that the Breakaway rider gets dropped as the pace had to pick up from the 5 riders because the time was coming down, and we see Ewan gets dropped out of the break there from Kyle Royale. As he's getting dropped, the 4 riders have to start digging deep because Viz Melissa bikes on the front at the summit. It was down to about 10 seconds, but now the 4 riders start extending it back out. As we get into 13 kilometers to go, things start getting nervous in the Peloton as it's going curb to curb, and no one has full control of the Peloton at this moment, but Viz Melissa bikes trying to do what they can. We have lost Ineos on the front at this moment, and they rode all the way into about 25, 22 kilometers to go when they finally got released from the front when they were riding just 2 riders. Now we're still coming in, and it's curb to curb as we come under 10 kilometers to go. Then once we get under 5 kilometers to go, same scenarios, curb to curb. This is where we saw the first attack coming from Zaza from Euskaltel Eskidi. With this big attack, he's blowing the group up, and now he's going solo. But the gap at 22, 25 seconds right now, this is not what you want to be doing with 5.5 kilometers to go. So we go back to the Peloton. They're still curb to curb, as I told you. And now we start coming under 3 kilometers to go at 2.9. As they're catching the first 2 guys getting dropped, Tobias Bayer and his company there from Diego, as those guys are getting wrapped up, they're on the right side. We look over to the left, and it's my man Victor Campenaerts, the yellow bees right over there on the left side. And then we start looking at a forward shot, and we see Victor Campenaerts get bumped out of the Peloton. I'm kind of assuming this and filling in some experience gap. Not exactly certain how he comes out of the Peloton while he's on the left side, but he's in the grass. As he's in the grass, it's getting bumpy, and road bikes do not handle grass good, especially with bumps. Right now, at this moment, you can see the motorcycle and the motorcycle driver who's parked off the road. This was great parking from the police motorcycle here right now, but it just happens to be extremely inconvenient for my man Victor Campenaerts, as he knows his bike's bouncing all over the place in the grass, and he's looking at the motorcycle cop as the motorcycle cop's starting to freak out too. Now my man Victor Campenaerts comes out on the park side there where the motorcycle is, where he's finally off the grass and on some kind of pavement, and then leans the bike over hard right, extremely hard right, and just misses the front end of the motorcycle. As he misses the motorcycle, we see the motorcycle driver just grab his head and panic right now. As we know, my man Victor Campenaerts, I'm going to have to fill in some spots right here for the Viz Melissa bike rider. I'm going to assume he dove hard right, missed the motorcycle, went back into the Peloton, and then got knocked back out as we see a back wheel coming up, or some kind of wheel coming up over into the grass there. Now we go up to the front of the Peloton, and we see Ineos have just started to come back to the front with 3 riders, and it's Caleb Ewan sitting in 3rd position. We go back and look at the crash, and we see on the left side that is my man Victor Campenaerts coming out of the grass there, and then the camera focuses on the back of the Peloton, and we see it's the American rider for Caja Rural that went down there. That's Tyler Seitz. And then we start looking at Viz Melissa bike all the way on the right side of the road, far in the right up there. Looks like he got held up, but I don't know exactly who that is. Then the camera fans back over onto my man Victor Campenaerts as we're looking at his clothes. It's all ripped up and torn up. At this point in time, he's not going to be there at the finish of today's race, and the Peloton's going full gas when we look at the front. Team Ineos are on there. They got 3 riders on the front. First rider's Omar Freire, then it's Kim Hajduk, and then it's the big-time favorite here, Caleb Ewan, to win today's race. The problem is we got about 2.5 kilometers to go, and Caleb Ewan knows at this moment, with only 2 riders in front of him, he might have to freelance at the end of today's stage 2 if he wants to be able to continue his progression of coming back to being one of the best sprinters in the world. This is a stepping stone. This is not the biggest sprinter field in the world, but this is a stepping stone to bring himself back up and get the confidence going for him and his team behind him if he can win today's stage. If he was to lose the sprint, it can bring the notch down on both his mentality and certainly his teammates' mentality of whether or not if Caleb can win. So this is a massive, important stage for the Aussie sprinter. Now, as he's got 2 riders in front, they start catching some more of the breakaway riders that are dropped. As Fernandez is caught from Burgos BH, that leaves Izaza as the last rider from Euskaltel Eskidi. Ineos are going full gas on the front, but they're missing a rider. They still need Axel Laurence. When we start looking back, trying to find Axel Laurence, he's in the back of the not far back, but on the back right side of the peloton, and he's not up on the Ineos train. Come into 2 kilometers to go. This is when they wrap up everyone from the breakaway as the Zaza is brought back from Escatel-Escady. Now we start coming into 1.7 kilometers to go, and Kim Hajduk looks back over his shoulder. As he's looking over his shoulder, he's trying to make sure that he's got his sprinter wrapped up there, Caleb Ewan, still on his wheel. He does, and then he hits off of Omar Fraley's wheel with full gas. As he hits off the wheel, Omar Fraley done a fantastic job of doing more than a kilometer on the front, plus whatever it took him to get to the front. So Omar Fraley's job was fantastically done as he pulls off to the right side. Now, Kim Hajduk's going full gas. On the left side, he's got Caleb Ewan on his wheel. And again, Caleb's head's got to be thinking, I don't have enough guys here. I'm missing a rider. Axel Laurence is still not here, but Axel Laurence is starting to be in the picture as he's coming up the left side of the road. He's coming up to about 1.2, 1.1 kilometer to go, up on the marker on the left side of your screen, as finally he's up to the close to the back wheel there of Caleb Ewan. But the problem is, he's got a rider in between him. When we start looking at the other Axel Zingle from Visma Lease Bike, he's got himself up there too, but he's about 5th row back on the right side. So Axel Laurence has to figure out how does he get up there in front of his teammate Caleb Ewan. Well, he doesn't have to figure it out because we look at Kim Hajduk. He comes from the left side, starts drifting over to the right. When he does, of course, that allows Axel Laurence to get up there in good position as we're coming into about 900 meters to go. The kilometer marker was just a little bit off, so once they come under the 1K banner, that's as the move there from Kim Hajduk moved over to the right side of the road. This allowed Axel Laurence to get in good position. Now, as he's in good position, we're coming into about 700 meters to go. This is the next power move put on here from Intermarché as they're going to start showing their face at the front of the peloton now. We look at Tom and we look at his sprinter there, Luca Van Boven, as Tom hits out hard with 700 meters to go. That's because coming under 600, the road's going to start to narrow out. But we go back to that 700 acceleration from Intermarché as he's hitting out hard. Tom for Luca Van Boven, excuse me, he hits out hard and goes to the left. Axel Laurence, who just started to get into the picture and has done some massive work, he hits out left to go over and follow the Intermarché riders. And as he hits out left, take a look of Caleb Ewan as he looks over his shoulder at the right moment. As he looks over his shoulder, he sees his teammate there, Axel Laurence, who was supposed to be his last lead-out man for him here on stage 2. Well, he moves over left too, and that means Kim Hajduk's job's done for Ineos as he pulls off and drops anchor. Once he does, Caleb Ewan and Axel Laurence are going to follow as they sit 2nd and 3rd, with Axel Laurence 3rd position behind Luca Van Boven there from Intermarché, and Caleb Ewan's in 4th. Now, somehow, magically, we got the lead out here for Caleb Ewan in the position that he wants to have originally, but he's got a team in front of him. And how much energy has Axel Laurence used in his legs? Well, we're going to find out soon as the road starts to narrow. As we start coming in and narrow out, you see Axel Zingle there in good position too, but not perfect. Then we come into the roundabout. Once we come into the roundabout, Axel Zingle from Visma Lease Bike gets pinched off because he has FDJ Gruel in front of him, and he's got the AG2R rider Trochan there. Now, as they start coming out, it starts thinning out, but we look at Caleb Ewan. He's still sitting on his teammate's wheel, and Intermarché is going full gas. And then we start looking further back, and Axel Zingle's chance of winning today's stage 2 is just about over. And of course, the other favorite sprinter here, when we're talking about Ethan Hayter, he's been out of the picture the whole time, coming into the last few kilometers. Now, Intermarché have the lead. They're coming out of the roundabout. We're going into 350 meters to go, and there's a bump in the road. As they hit the bump, Tom's going full, throwing everything into it. Now we find out at this moment, Axel Laurence doesn't have the legs, guys. His legs are blowing. He's starting to open up the gap. They go over the bump. They come down the descent. 2 Intermarché riders going full gas. And Axel Laurence knows that he's in trouble right now and he can't do the proper lead out for Caleb Ewan. But he has the next best thing. He looks back as Caleb Ewan's flying around the right side of him. He looks over to the side there, sees Caleb Ewan, backs off as they're coming into the last corner with about 225 meters to go. It's going to start proper. Right as they start to dive at 200, we see Caleb Ewan. It moves over into 3rd position. As he moves into 3rd position, they're coming out of the corner with about 150 meters to go. Once they come out, right away, we see Luca Van Boven. He hits off his teammate's wheel, Tom, goes hard to the right. Caleb Caleb Ewan goes hard to the left around the front leader there of Intermarché as he's blowing. He's going hard to the left. Luca Van Boven from Intermarché looks left over his shoulder. Right now, I don't know if he sees Caleb Ewan. He might see his teammate, not Caleb Ewan, going all the way to the far left, but Luca Van Boven's head goes back forward. It drops down hard as Caleb Ewan's flying up the left side. Caleb Ewan's got him in his sights, and he's going even about 75 meters. Once you get into 60 meters, Caleb Ewan's got the lead at 50, and he looks like he's for sure going to wrap this stage up. Come into 10 meters to go. Caleb Ewan goes super aero Australian Caleb Ewan mode as he crosses the line and wins today's stage 2 of the Basque Country. Luca Boven will come through for second on the stage. Third on the stage would be Trochan from AG2R as he passed the FDJ rider back there, Gruel, to round out the podium on today's stage 2. Now, all the GC guys, nothing changed. So, when we look at the race leader, that's Max Schockman still for Pseudo Quickstep. That'll start tomorrow, stage 3, when we get back into the mountains. But this stage 2 for Caleb Ewan, in his interview, he talks about that there was a lot of pressure to win today's stage 2. I believe there was immense amount of pressure. This is the new version of Caleb Ewan trying to go back to the old version of 2019-2020 and taking you into that 21 Tour de France where he had already had 2 Giro stage wins and had that second place at Milan-San Remo, but crashed on stage 3 and his career has descended dramatically since the 21 Tour de France. Now it's coming back up as he's riding for Team Ineos, and this was the next stepping stone here to get himself into fine form and get him ready for the Tour de France in the 2025 season. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Remember, I do not do recaps. Hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you guys for stage 3 of the Tour of the Basque Country real soon.